Hello, East Noble teachers. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about loading up your apps back onto your classroom set of devices. I know there's been a lot of questions about what to do. Many of you have brand new, are brand new teachers, and since you're brand new teachers, your apps from the previous teacher may not be there, or some schools had no apps in their account. So we'll talk about that first. When you get in to iTunes and you sign into the computer, what you'll need to do is when you are in iTunes, you'll need to make sure that you're signed in. So you'll click on the Store tab up here and check and make sure that you are signed in. And you'll just sign in right there if you need to. Then what you'll need to do is you'll need to click on iTunes Store, and when you go to the iTunes Store, I'm going to go back to the home screen so you can see what it'll look like. More than likely this screen will come up first, and I apologize for the bands in the background. But then what you'll want to do is you'll want to see if you have any apps that you need to put back on your account. So I clicked on that Purchase tab over there. And then if you click on Apps, you can see all the apps that you've ever purchased, or you can click on Not on this computer. Right now I put them all back on. But there will be little clouds here that you can click which ones you want to download, or you can click on Download All and it'll put them all back in your account. You'll then have to wait a little bit. Okay, the next step is for you to get one of the iPads going. So I'm just going to plug in one iPad here, and the sync cart will recognize it. And since we wiped them out last year, what's going to happen is you will have nothing on it, so it'll be starting as a brand new iPad. So for this first one, what you're going to want to do is set up as a new iPad. You'll be able to name it what you want. So if you want to name it by student's name, so I'll just call this, and you may want to even do it by the student's last name, so that way when you do plug them in, it will alphabetize it. I mean, it just depends which way you want to have them ordered. When you have all the devices plugged in, over here on the left-hand side, it'll show those names. So it's fine, whatever you want to name it is up to you. It can always be changed. It can be changed directly in the settings of the iPad itself. So I'm going to hit Done, and then what it's going to do is it's going to start syncing. You can see the wheels turning over here. It's starting to sync. What I need to also do is I need to make sure that the Sync Apps is checked. I need to make sure that all these are all my apps that I want are checked and ready to go. Now what you could do if you wanted to start out this year with only a few apps, you could select what you want and then go and hit the automatically sync new apps button right there, make sure that's clicked, and then you would hit apply. And what that would do is it would just put those apps on that you chose. Now what you could do next is if you wanted the students to only have a certain number, you could make the rest exactly the same, so that way they only have that number of apps. Now, what I'm going to do next, after this is done, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a backup of this one that I've made to make the other ones. They can all be renamed later. Now, some other things that you're going to need to be aware of is that as these are loading up and you're clicking on each one and making them a restoration of the previous one, you're going to have a few screens pop up that hopefully will not be confusing for you. It'll say something about needing to reset. That's fine. But when I click on Device and get ready to restore it, what's going to happen is it's going to tell me a couple of things. It's going to tell me that not all the apps were able to load, and part of our problem is that that Pages has a newer version and our current operating system won't work on it. So we're going to have to wait and solve that problem later. So for now, Pages will not work. It'll also ask you if you want to update the software version, and this is a cancel. Don't do that. We want to keep them all the same, and not only that, it'll take you forever to update the software. Okay, now that you have officially put all the apps back onto the devices, and they're all finished. You don't see any of these spinning. Now you can rename these as you want. You just click on device, and you click on the name again, and you can give it a name however you want. Like I said, I encourage you to use their, it depends how you typically alphabetize. If you alphabetize according to first name, go by that. If you alphabetize according to last name, go by that. But what will be nice is that once you have them all plugged in, you'll be able to see all their names, and you'll know whose device is whose. So that way you can keep track of how many you have. The other way you can rename them is to actually go onto the iPad and then go into the settings, go into About, and you'll see the name there. You'll be able to rename it from there. Now, once you have renamed your iPads, what will happen is it'll come into this state where it is acting like it's going to start over. So you go ahead and just open it up. And it's going to ask you for the language. You obviously set it for English and hit the arrow at the top. I'll make it move on. And then it's also going to ask you if you want to enable location services. And you go ahead and hit yes for enable location services. Make sure it's checkmarked. Hit the blue next button. And it's going to ask you for the Wi-Fi. And you should already know the Wi-Fi password for our school district. If you do not, make sure you contact me. And that'll get set up once you hit next. It's going to ask you for the Apple ID, but since it was already plugged into the cart, the Apple ID should already be set up. So down here at the bottom there's a skip this step, and I'm going to skip it. It's going to ask you for a license agreement. Hit agree at the bottom and agree again. And then it's going to ask you if you want to automatically send diagnostics and usage, and I'm going to hit don't send and hit next. And then it's going to say start using iPad, and you should have all your apps on the device ready for the school year.